From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. President Trump has issued orders to increase law enforcement presence in Washington, D.C. for at least 7 days. The White House says there will be increased presence of federal law enforcement in the Capitol to combat crime for the next week, with the option to extend it. Washington, D.C. is an amazing city, but it has been plagued by violent crime for far too long, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said in a statement. President Trump has directed an increased presence of federal law enforcement to protect innocent citizens. She said that means there will be no safe harbor for violent criminals in D.C. The announcement comes amid Trump's repeated suggestions that control of Washington could be returned to federal authorities. Doing so would require a repeal of the Home Rule Act of 1973 in Congress, a step that the president said lawyers are examining, but that could face pushback. U.S. Air Force to deny retirement pay to transgender service members being separated from the service. The United States Air Force said Thursday it would deny all transgender service members who have served between 15 and 18 years the option to retire early and would instead separate them without retirement benefits. The move means that transgender service members will now be faced with a choice of either taking a lump sum separation payment offered to junior troops or be removed from the service. An Air Force spokesperson told the Associated Press that although service members with 15 to 18 years of honorable service were permitted to apply for an exception to policy, none of the exceptions to policy were approved. About a dozen service members had been prematurely notified that they would be able to retire before that decision was reversed, according to the spokesperson who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss internal Air Force policy. All transgender members of the Air Force are being separated from the service under the Trump administration's policies. Judge orders a temporary halt to construction at Florida's Alligator Auschwitz concentration center. A federal judge on Thursday ordered a temporary halt to construction at the concentration camp, aka Immigration Detention Center, built in the middle of the Florida Everglades and dubbed Alligator Alcatraz by the Trump regime and Alligator Auschwitz by anybody else who's coherent, as attorneys argue whether it violates environmental laws. The facility can continue to operate and hold detainees for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, but workers will be barred from adding any new filling, paving, or infrastructure for the next 14 days. U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams issued the ruling during a hearing and said she will issue a written order later Thursday. Environmental groups and the Miccosukee tribe have asked Williams to issue a preliminary injunction to halt operations and further construction. The suit claims the project threatens environmentally sensitive wetlands that are home to protected plants and animals and would reverse billions of dollars worth of environmental restoration. And finally, the Environmental Protection Agency has canceled $7 billion in Biden-era grant programs intended to boost solar energy. The EPA on Thursday terminated a $7 billion grant program that was intended to help pay for residential solar projects for more than 900,000 lower-income U.S. households. It's the latest Trump administration move hindering the nation's shift to cleaner energy. The funding, part of Democratic President Joe Biden's Solar for All program, was awarded to 60 recipients, including states, tribes, and regions for investments such as rooftop solar and community solar gardens. Solar, a renewable energy, is widely regarded as one way to introduce cleaner power onto the electrical grid and lower energy bills for American consumers. Folks, that's the news at this hour. Tune in on Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. for a full hour review of the news from this week on Stand With Pride. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.